Hello, let's inspect Galvanic Field Inquisitor. It's a 2-setup CoC build that puts heavy emphasis on shock effect. The effect of this non-damaging ailment is tied to the lightning damage and is always applied with critical strikes, so in this case, with every hit. There's a very efficient way of increasing the shock effect. Voltaxic Rifts hits shock enemies as though dealing 300% more damage. Overcharge support works in a similar manner, but the effect is even more pronounced. Remember that you will deal chaos damage, so allocating Inevitable Judgment is pointless. Find a way to apply Withered debuff instead. We recommend picking up the Instrument of Virtue for Battle Mage and a lot of added lightning damage in all of your setups. For critical strike chance, get Righteous Providence. Sanctuary and Pious Path will regenerate your energy shield and grant basically a permanent consecrated ground bonus. To cause shock, use a cast on crit setup that consists of a spell that can instantly and easily hit enemies. Arc seems like the best candidate. Add to that Lightning Conduit, a spell that cannot shock, but in a fashion similar to Galvanic Field, deals more damage per shock effectiveness. Galvanic Field creates a sphere around the target you've just shocked that hits enemies inside of it with lightning beams. The spell itself cannot shock, but it deals more damage the higher the effect of the shock that created the damaging field was, so you will need other skills to cause this ailment. The defenses of this build are not very good. It's capable of reaching up to 5k of maximum life and around 1k of energy shield that's only half useful for mitigating damage. It can reach around 10k armor and maybe some spell suppression with instant life on hit or a high life s regeneration rate. Clear speed is very good, and the character moves very fast. Single target damage is not one of the highest, but good for its price. The build is actually cheap, it needs no specific rares and just a few unique items. Voltaxic Rift is the mandatory unique item. The price of it is usually somewhat high and hard to predict, especially at the start of a new league. Azimuth's Mark is also required for the most optimal performance. The same goes for Hyri's Truth and Mark of the Shaper. These uniques are cheap. Gearing up should be easy. All of the items are sound priced. Azimuth's Mark is the best in slot helmet that increases attack speed, spell damage, energy shield, and triggers socketed spell after you attack with a bow. It's where you should socket your lightning warp setup. Voltaxic Rift, a bow that has very high base lightning damage and increased attack speed. Its unique selling point is the 100% lightning to chaos conversion, an ability for chaos damage to shock, and plus 40% to maximum effective shock. A perfect weapon for a build like this. As a rare body armor has no specific, build-enabling qualities, you can simply get the Skin of the Lords for more damage. Hyri's Truth is the best amulet as it grants an absurd amount of dexterity, discounted level 30 precision, culling strike, and critical strike multiplier. If your other ring is Elder influenced, Mark of the Shaper is probably the best choice. It provides a lot of damage, increases maximum life, and energy shield. Inflict Withered for 2 seconds on hit if you've cast Despair in the past 10 seconds, is the mod you want to get on the balance of Terror Jewel. Some critical strike or attack speed mods that are affiliated with precision or zealotry will be great on a Watcher's Eye. A vitality mod for life on hit may also be good. CoC builds require a 100% critical strike chance for attacks and enough accuracy rating to land every hit. Critical strike multiplier, especially for spells, is a way to gain more damage, alongside simply increasing attack speed, or leveling up your spell skill gems. Try to accumulate maximum life, ES, and armor. You may also want to get some strength to increase your critical strike chance, but dexterity is a more important attribute. Quiver should grant you some maximum life, attack speed, and crit chance or multiplier. You may also find some other offensive or utility modifiers here. A rare body armor with tons of life and resistances is good enough. It does not need to be influenced so that you may apply blue and red Eldritch Orbs to it. We recommend increased effect of auras, Wrath specifically. As was the case with body armor, we once again recommend boots with no built-in influence so that you may use red orbs and get the drops brittle ground while moving implicit. Brittled enemies have a higher chance of receiving a critical strike. Gloves should get you some extra accuracy and maximum life. Dexterity, attack speed, and critical strike mods can be found here too. Get a Stygian Vice with a lot of maximum life, resistances, strength, and other defensive modifiers. Rings are good for maximum life, resistances, and attributes. There are also modifiers for critical strike chance, damage, life gained on hit, and accuracy that you might find to be of use. Get an Elder influenced one. Maximum life, resistances, attributes, critical strike modifiers, and attack speed can be implemented with rare jewels. You can use 1 or 2 large lightning damage cluster jewels with overshock or paralysis, and prismatic heart, widespread destruction, or disorienting display. If you still don't have enough crit chance, go for medium cluster jewels with nodes that would increase it. Bottled Faith is great but very expensive. It increases your DPS and critical strike chance. For other flasks, get a life one with instant life recovery on use, diamond, quicksilver, silver, or granite flasks. These should increase your critical strike chance, movement speed, attack speed, armor, or remove bleeding or freeze. Galvanic Field is a buff that quickly enters its second phase, a dome that damages enemies inside of it. Use the Phantasmal version for more area of effect. Link it with added lightning damage, elemental focus, increased critical strikes, increased critical damage, and void manipulation support gems. Arc is a simple lightning spell that chains off of enemies, instantly delivering lightning damage. Lightning Conduit deals lightning damage only to shocked enemies, cannot shock, and removes shock on hit. Enemies will be shocked most of the time anyway due to many other skills. Rain of Arrows has an important function, it triggers spells. Blast Rain can be used here instead. Try both and select the one you're more comfortable with. Link these three with cast on critical, void manipulation, and increased critical strikes. If you don't have a way to apply Withered debuff quickly and reliably, put the Withering Touch support instead of void manipulation. The attack will trigger linked spells when you hit an enemy with one of the arrows. Not both spells at once, but in altering fashion. Zealotry increases critical strike chance and grants more damage but only for spells. Wrath adds lightning damage to attacks, and grants more spell lightning damage. You will benefit from both thanks to Battle Mage. Vitality regenerates life, and with Pious Path, Energy Shield, which is also your mana. Lightning Warp teleports you. With Azimuth's Mark, it will be triggered every time you attack with 0.3 second cooldown. It deals half-decent damage, enough to make it worth hooking up to overcharge support for maximum shock effect. Lightning Warp teleports you faster if you link it with less duration and Swift Affliction support gems. Use Assassin's Mark for more critical strike chance and increased critical strike damage against marked targets. With Mark on hit support, the mark will be applied automatically with attacks against rare and unique enemies. Enemies cursed with despair have reduced chaos resistance. If you have a proper version of the Balance of Terror, cast it yourself. It can also be cast automatically with a specific ring or gloves, Corrupted Affix. Vol Righteous Fire grants more spell damage, especially if it's a divergent version. You should be able to sustain it even in its non-Vol form. With Instrument of Virtue, it's better to cast 3 spells every 8 seconds for more damage. Flame Dash is great for that role, and it doubles as a mobility tool. Use Precision for more accuracy and increased critical strike chance for attacks and spells. It's sourced from Hyri's Truth. Kill all the bandits for 2 more passive skill points. For a major god we've selected the Soul of Solaris. It seems like the most useful one, as the clear speed is by no means bad, and movement speed is not very influential to justify taking Lunaris over it. Brine King and Aracali are good too, depending on the situation. The Soul of Garukan is the best minor god. It reduces the effect of shock on you, making you less likely to be unshotted. After upgrading, it renders you blind and maim immune, which is great. The passive skill tree is centered around critical strikes, shock effectiveness, elemental and lightning damage, aura effect, maximum life, and chaos damage. For masteries, allocate both life ones for more maximum life and vitality reservation efficiency as life masteries, increased aura effect and increased damage per aura as reservation masteries, crit multiplier and increased effect of non-damaging ailments as critical masteries, increased maximum effect of shock and extra chaining for spells as 2 lighting masteries, increased effect of non-damaging ailments as elemental mastery, and increased effect of withered as chaos mastery. That is all, thanks for watching. Remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.